Greetings and welcome everyone. Hope you're doing good. Hope you're feeling great. So, yes, so another live that we are doing here. So, you would have seen the topic on screen. You would have seen the topic on the thumbnail where this one covers what is Mystery Babylon and who or what is the woman that rides the beast that we would have seen in the book of Revelation. So as usual, over the years, persons always tries to figure out the book of Revelation. We try to figure out that system that is called the beast system. We try to figure out which nation represents the beast, which person is going to be the beast, when the beast, mark of the beast is going to come, which time that is going to come in. All these things people try to figure out. All right, but what we're going to do in this video, we are going to track it via scripture, and we are going to pinpoint using scriptural evidence all the correlations that we get from Bible to draw the final conclusion, which is the final truth. All right, so let us get straight into it. So I do these as articles that are downloadable to you for free. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below. It brings you here on the site. You click here, register or log in if you're coming here for the first time, and you register. Submit. Once you submit, then it takes you to that download page. There are documents there, and based on each videos and lives that I do, articles that can be used for Sunday school, deep mysteries, of course. All right, if you're already a member, you can just go ahead and log in. All right, and that's what I will do here. All right, once you come here, then you'll see all the different PDFs that are available to you. You have two options: one to click and to download the file, another one to just click and watch and read the file from the site. All right, so the truth about Mystery Babylon and the woman sitting on the beast. All right, so we're just going to declare and show exactly what that is in this video. So we're going to follow this via the article. So what is Mystery Babylon the Great? Who is the woman sitting on the beast? So introduction. Mystery Babylon the Great, described in Revelation 17 to 18, is one of the greatest end-time mysteries. To fully understand her, we must trace Jezebel's corruption in the Old Testament.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this. Let's flow with it. Mystery Babylon.
Sorry about that. So Jezebel's corruption in the Old Testament and Revelation. The rise of the beast kingdoms seen in Daniel. The transformation of the Roman Empire. The blasphemous claims of the papal system. The modern USA's political role alongside her. Alright, so this article breaks down these deep connections using the Bible. So the origin of the beast was seen in Daniel's vision, in Daniel 7, 3-7. And 4 great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. Daniel saw 4 kingdoms rise. So one was described as a lion. The one that was described as a lion would represent the Babylonian kingdom at that time, the same one that Nebuchadnezzar would have been king in. That one was the one that was the lion. That was the Babylon system that would have taken the children of Israel into captivity. Another one that was seen was the bear. this would have represented the Persian army, which would have fought with the Babylonian army and would have taken power over Babylon at that time. That's normally how it goes, and it is probably a practice today. It's being practiced, where in order to take over from a nation, you need to be able to defeat their army. Once you defeat their army, then you are able to take over that nation. So Babylon would have taken over Israel, but God would have permitted it to happen via war. And they would have taken over Israel via war, winning the war, and then they would have taken the children of Israel captive into Babylon. But then the Persian army would have risen up, and then they would have conquered the Babylonian army to take over. All right, the Babylon was basically no more, and we see those prophecies that comes out. All right, there was the leopard. All right, this represents Grecia, the Greek army, the Greek empire. All right, and then the fourth one represents the terrifying beast, the Roman Empire. So the Roman Empire, we would have seen that come up in the time of Jesus Christ. So by the time Jesus Christ came to earth, the Roman Empire, the Romans existed as rulers over Israel. All right? And after Jesus Christ, we would have seen how they would have operated during the time of Jesus Christ. Pilate really didn't want to crucify Jesus Christ. So the real Roman Empire would come after Jesus Christ would have been crucified and would have returned to heaven. That's when we would see the real Roman Empire. The one now that is going to persecute the church, the one that is going to have all sorts of crusades, the one that was going to crucify most of the apostles, or all of the apostles, or most of the apostles, I'll say. All right? This Roman Empire is called an empire because it's a world power. It's not just sitting in just one country as a power. They are a world power. They are in control of the world. All right? So it's usually led by a strong king. All right? But obviously the backing of that king is someone who we hear about, or a spirit that we hear about, and that is Lucifer. And you see that in the book of Revelation. That is the dragon. All right? So these are four nations that were prophesied by Daniel in the book of Daniel 7, 3-7. All right? So Rome was the fourth beast. So we are already revealing what the beast really represents. And if you read the book of Revelation, all right? And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. All right? So persons oftentimes are picturing an individual. All right? We are always picturing an individual. But the beast is not just an individual. The beast first is Lucifer himself, Satan himself. He is first the beast. Second, which forms part of the beast, is a country or a continent. All right? The third element of the beast is a king that resides within that nation. All right? But they're all going hand in hand, right? So the country is usually tied to a great king. All right? And the powers of the country is dependent on the king that is running the country at the time. So it is the country tied to the king that is the beast. So a country is not necessarily a country without a king or a prime minister or a president. All right? So it is the country under the influence of a great king. So it is Lucifer, dragon, country, beast, with a king, beast. All right. So beasts rise up out of the sea, which represents people. All right. So it is broken down in Revelation 17 for us. All right. And the heads tells you about the kings, the 10 horns that represents the kings and so forth. It's broken down in Revelation 17. All right. And upon his heads, the name of the blasphemy. So we are trying to pinpoint, and there's a transition that takes place in the book of Revelation 13. It mentions the first beast that rises up out of the sea. But as we go down, it mentions a second beast that rises up. So we need to find out what the first beast represents and then what the second beast represents. All right, so let's continue to go through the article. So we say Rome is the fourth beast. All right, and we are going from Bible. We're not really talking about necessarily Rome in this time. We are talking about the Rome that rose up in the time of Jesus Christ, not just the Rome today. All right, because the Rome today, you would have to question, how is Rome today? How would Rome today be considered the beast when they obviously are not operating like a world power? They're not operating like an empire. It would seem like the strongest nation that we have now is USA. So every time this term beast comes up, all right, and every time this word Babylon comes up, people always think of the nation that is strongest in this time, that everybody is letting in everybody, coming out with all sorts of rules, supporting all forms of sexual immorality. So when we continue to consider the characteristics of that, it usually points truly to that nation over there, usually pointing to the United States of America. All right. So when I'm going through this and I'm pondering on this, I ask myself the question: when did we transition from Rome being so strong in Bible days? Because it was in the Bible days the fourth beast that stood out strong for a long period, and that long period lasted all the way up to AD 476. It was the Roman system. All right, just as though we see USA being strong as a world power now, it was Rome in those days. But even the Rome that we had in those days is different from the US that we have in these days. The Rome that we have in those days was an extremely violent type of nation, right? That stood up against Jews hard. All right, so the term Christianity and all of those things did not even come into play as yet. All right, it was their system rising up against the Jews. They were against the Jews. All right, when the Jews are proclaiming the name of Jesus Christ, they are fighting against this, to the point where they would have eventually, as I said, would have crucified the prophets. All right, the America that we see today is not as terrible as this Roman nation. All right, that eventually rose up. So devouring and breaking in pieces, this Roman system lays the foundation for the beast in Revelation 13. So the beast that is being referred here as the beast that rises up out of the sea. So the revelation that John gets comprises of more than one thing. It's prophecy of the future, things that he sees now when he gets the vision of heaven, and he's also giving revelation of things that have passed. All right. So persons will come to the book of Revelation, they think that it is just future things. All right. He's getting revelation of things that have already passed, revelation of things that he sees now, revelation of things that are yet to come. All right. So this portion of his vision here is referring to the literal political system of Rome. And that was just a political system that was not based on religion. It was based on them having a king, a leader. All right? We call him Caesar. All right? In those times, yes, they will eventually create images of Caesar that they would expect worship. But that system, beast system of worship goes as far back as in Babylon. Because we see in Daniel 3, where Nebuchadnezzar, where they were trying to get Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to bow down to the images. So they are normally trying to distract worship from the true God. They're normally trying to distract worship to a false image. Alright? That was consistent in the Babylonian time, and it continued in the Roman time. Alright? Fighting against God, fighting against the Son of God. Alright? And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. So, we'll come out in the article, but we're seeing the three nature of the nations that went on before this beast, alright, being mentioned in this one beast. So we can pinpoint it to Rome. Because in the book of Daniel, it describes them. One with the head of a lion, one as a bear, one as a leopard. But when you come into Revelation, this beast is being described as combining all of these characteristics. Alright? And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet was as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. Alright, so he combines all the characteristics of the first three nations that would have gone on before them. Alright? So we have to make the connections to understand the nature of this beast and this Babylon system. That is what will allow you to understand exactly what it is. Alright? So you have to make a correlation to Jezebel. Alright? Why do we use Jezebel as the foundation? If you go over into Revelation 2, and the entire book of Revelation, the chapters tie in with each other, trying to give you a revelation. It's describing here the characteristics of Jezebel. Right? But it is not that this specific woman had the name Jezebel. Alright? It was describing a characteristic. Alright? Traits that you associate with a certain Jezebel that was an actual individual. Alright? So this person is being stigmatized because she carries the same traits as the Jezebel. Alright? The Jezebel, the woman from the Old Testament. So notwithstanding, I have a few things against thee, because thou sufferest that woman Jezebel, which calleth herself a prophetess, to teach and to seduce my servants to commit fornication and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. So what we are seeing here is a woman that would have taught things that goes against the principles of Jesus Christ. All right? So it's not, the problem is not that she's teaching, all right, but we're not focusing on a woman now. We are focusing on what the characteristic, what she does, the things that she does. So what she does, she called herself a prophetess, all right, which represents false religion, all right, to teach and to seduce my servants to commit fornication, all right. So teaching something that is corrupt, right? And to eat things sacrificed unto idols. So this type of fornication. So harlotry, of course, is fornication. Whoredom is fornication. All right? So who is the woman and the beast? So that's where all these correlations are coming from to get to Revelation 17 and 18. So it is speak when it describes her as a fornicator. All right, this is the person or the characteristic traits that it has in mind. All right, but before it got to these character traits in Revelation that is being described in this woman, there is someone that would have played out the actual role. All right, so that's why we link the New Testament to the Old Testament. All right, to get the right revelations and to go through the scriptures the right way. So 1 Kings 16, 31, 33 describes Jezebel from the Old Testament. And it came to pass, as it had been a light thing for him to walk in the sins of Jeroboam. So who is this describing? This was talking about Ahab. Ahab is a king. Ahab is a ruler. All right? Someone that is placed to rule and lead a nation. All right? So the nation is behind a king. All right? The nation picks up the characteristics and the characteristic traits of the constitution. The constitution is based on the political system that is based on the king. All right? So that he took to wife Jezebel. So now what we are having a king that is now going to combine with a woman. A woman who is corrupted in her mind. A woman who commits fornication, and not just commit fornication, but Jesus would have described a Jezebel in Revelation 2 as one that teaches others to do so. All right? That he took to wife Jezebel and went and served Baal. So one of the rules that God would have given was that the kings of Israel, the people of Israel, they are not supposed to marry Canaanites and Moabites, especially the Canaanites and the Moabites, because they are going to turn their hearts to idolatry. All right? So when this king mixes with this woman, he risks falling into a false religion, because this woman is associated with false religion, associated with idolatry. So when this king, this president, who represents the nation, he becomes corrupted by mixing with a woman who is already part of a false religion, who will have the power to influence him. Because men tend to be weak to women, especially a woman that they love. All right? We saw Solomon experience the same thing. Solomon would have mixed himself with the woman, we find that in 1 Kings. All right? In 1 Kings 11 or 2 Kings 11. Mixed himself with the woman that God said, do not marry these women. Unless these women, you truly know that these women, the faith that they exercise is that they believe in God. But once they do not change from their idolatry ways, then you cannot mix with these women. So Solomon made that mistake. And when he made that mistake, it corrupted him to the point where now he's facing judgment. All right? He's facing judgment. Based on how the 2 Kings 11 ends, it would suggest that Solomon is not going to make it. All right? Into the New Jerusalem. So Ahab ended up doing this after marrying Jezebel, and went and served Baal and worshipped him. And Ahab made a grove, and Ahab did more to provoke the Lord God of Israel to anger than all the kings of Israel that were before him. All right? Why? Was it that Ahab was so not humble, or did it have something to do with the woman that he ended up marrying? Alright? So Jezebel, therefore, represents religious corruption. Because it's after Ahab came to Jezebel, that is when he started serving Baal. She was able to manipulate him. Alright? So if you know the story of Naboth, Ahab would have covetously wanted the vineyard of Naboth. And when he couldn't get it, he just went sadly home, cried. His wife asked him, "What is wrong with you?" And he tells her that he wants the vineyard of Naboth, and he's not giving it to him. And she says, "Do not worry about it, it will be yours." And what does she do? She go out, get some witnesses to rise up against Naboth, influence again, to get them to lie on Naboth. And once that happens, that fits into the constitutional law, because by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, they would not make someone unalive in those days if in Israel if there were not at least 2 to 3 witnesses. So she knows the law and what she needed to do to manipulate the law. Alright? One of the other things that she did, alright, Jezebel was so powerful that she let a man who was able to call on fire from heaven on the altar, she let that man run from him because he was so much afraid of her. Alright, that's a mystery in and of itself. Whatsoever is written aforetime was written for our learning. Alright? A character trait is being developed for our learning, because, truth be told, I don't think Elijah really had to run from him. So why that fear came into his heart for him to run from her, obviously it was done for our learning, because God is already setting up an image for us to be able to pinpoint these things. So, because Elijah, would have caused all of those prophets, the false prophets, to be made unalive. Alright? 1 Kings 18. Jezebel would have reacted, and over 400 prophets, true prophets of God, were made unalive under her power. Right? So therefore, one of the traits that comes out through Jezebel as well is she would have started the process of making unalive true servants of God and fighting the true servants of God from that time. All of these traits were literally in one woman. One woman. Alright? This is not a makeup. All of these traits were in one woman. So she enforced false worship through political authority. Just like Mr. Babylon, she enforced false worship through political authority. Right? So she was sitting on Ahab, or she combined with Ahab, so she had control or have connection to the political system. She was able to influence his mind as a man. Right? She was able to go out and influence decrees because she was connected to the man. So she was able to influence it. She had power over him, or power over his mind. Alright? We get to Jezebel in Revelation. Jesus is describing a characteristic that fits the literal Jezebel, the Jezebel. So Jesus Christ is now stigmatizing this woman the same way. Notwithstanding, I have a few things against thee, because thou sufferest that woman Jezebel, which called itself a prophetess, to teach and to seduce my servants to commit fornication, and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. The same thing that Jezebel did. Alright, she caused Ahab to turn to Baal, All right. She herself was described as a harlot, one that obviously you know what a harlot is. All right. And she was decorated as well. All right. Paints her face and all these things, and all these characteristic traits was Jezebel. All right. Eat things sacrificed to idols, idol worshiping. All right. Balaam is described as doing the same thing. All right. So it's forms of witchcraft, fornication, all of those things. So we call it the spirit of Jezebel, but why do we call it the spirit of Jezebel, even though it does not necessarily say spirit of Jezebel in the Bible? It's because there's an evil spirit that is behind. All right. And that's the evil spirit that is behind is influencing as the master deceiver. All right. And he's the one, he's the serpent spirit that is behind all of this that is going on. All right. So it is not the individual, but there's a spirit that is behind this that is causing all of this. We're going to see it come out in the book of Revelation. All right. So the spirit of Jezebel continues in corrupt religious leadership within the church, false teachings, spiritual fornication, and alliance with political powers. So now we need to pinpoint what systems we see that operates like that, right? Religious combined with politics. We need to find that combination of religion and politics that just seems to not align to scriptures or goes against what we know to be scriptural, subtly as well. If you are probably not studying scriptures, you probably will not pick it up. All right? So false teachings, spiritual fornication, and alliance with political powers. So Mystery Babylon, therefore, repeats Jezebel's sins globally. So we need to find the nations that operate like this. All right? But we need to find the characteristics of it. All right? So let's go. So now we get to the woman sitting on the beast. Revelation 17:3-5. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. And I saw a woman sit up on a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. All right? So, the characteristics of this woman. This woman, she corrupts religious system. All right? False teachings, Baal worship. All right? Makes unalive people of God within that nation. All right? So, we would have seen that trait coming out in Rome with the crucifixion of the apostles. So, the beast equals political world powers. So, the woman represents the one that influences into idolatry, idol worshiping, religious practices that goes against the purpose of God, but is able to influence, especially men, is able to influence. So the woman influences, rides, and controls the beast. But it is done subtly. It is done subtly. You might not even know that how deep it goes. Alright? So we end up with a situation of a mixture of religion and politics. And religion seemingly controlling politics. So, physical Babylon foreshadowed spiritual Babylon. Genesis 11:4. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad above the face of the whole earth. Alright? Symbolizing rebellion. Alright, so this was referring to Babel, Tower of Babel, sounding like Babylon, right? So ancient Babylon symbolizing human rebellion against God, false unity, alright? Attempt to reach heaven by human means. Alright, this was about the Tower of Babel. Alright, so Mystery Babylon repeats this rebellion spiritually in the last days. Alright? So, we have the physical Roman emperor as the ultimate beast foundation. And I said, this is them that we see being described in Revelation 13:1-2. Alright? So, we're talking about a physical system. This was from 1st century to AD 476 after Jesus Christ, the real Roman emperor that rose up. Alright? And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns. Alright? So the beast rising up out of the sea, alright, obviously that this will be referring to the dragon. Alright? The one that is behind the power. The heads referring to the nation itself. The horns referring to the kings of the nation. Alright, so the heads is referring to the nations. Alright, the beast right here is describing the main one behind it all. And that's the great Lucifer himself. Right? And upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Alright? And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet was as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. Alright? The dragon here is referring to Lucifer. Alright? The ultimate beast that is behind the beast system. Alright? Behind it all. So, this Roman Empire system, we see where it says there were 3 traits that were mentioned. Alright? Lion, bear, leopard. Alright? Remember, Nebuchadnezzar had to be humbled. Alright? So that nation was an arrogant nation. Alright? Describing the characteristics of the king that was leading at the time. So as I said, the nation reflects the king. Alright? So it is really the king that bears the bulk of the judgment. Alright? So when we're talking about the nation, we're describing the nation according to the character traits of the leader. So Nebuchadnezzar was arrogant. Alright? Persia. This nation was a strong nation. Strong king that was able to overpower a great Babylon nation. Alright? And then there was Grecia, which is Greece. Alright? And it was described as swift and a deceptive type of nation. So this Roman nation, taking in everybody and allowing everybody, takes on all of these characteristic traits. Alright? So when Rome took over Grecia, Grecia became a part of Rome, and they took on some of the characteristic traits of Rome. I think they took on the language as well. Alright? to the point where most of the nations started to speak the language of Greece. All right. So Rome became the foundation of the beast system seen later in Revelation. All right, the physical beast. So after Rome's political fall, the spiritual Roman papacy rose. So this is now the mystery being revealed. So as I said before, that we cannot pinpoint exactly when, we couldn't pinpoint exactly when until we were able to go and do studies, exactly when this Roman system fell. Right? It was hard to pinpoint exactly when this the physical Roman system fell. Right? And when the USA seemingly took over world power, because we know that this nation was world power. But we couldn't see when USA fought with the Roman system and defeated the Roman system. All right? But that's not what happened. The Roman system would have fallen by different means. It was not a war between a US nation. All right? So after Rome's political form, there's something that we see today that is in Rome. All right? There's something today that we see that is in Rome. What we see in Rome today. In Rome, there's the city of Rome that is called the Vatican City. All right? The Vatican City has its own political system, has its own constitution, and it has its own president. But the president that heads the Vatican system is a political person. No, sorry. Is a religious person. The person that heads the Vatican system as the leader of Vatican is a religious person. All right? It's a religious system, therefore, that is the leader of a nation. All right? So we transition, therefore. So when we read the book of Revelation, we are noticing that there's a transition. There's a first beast that is described. This is describing the physical beast. The original Rome system that was not headed by a religious system. Alright? So the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and its feet were as the feet of a bear. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death. Alright? And his deadly wound was healed. Alright? And all the world wondered after the beast. Alright? Lucifer would have been wounded when he would have been bounded for a while. Alright? Lucifer would have been wounded when he was cast out of heaven. Alright? So, in this time and this early time, he would have lost this power to accuse, but he was not fully bound as yet. Alright? So, this wound would represent Lucifer being cast out of heaven. Alright? So, and they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. Alright? And they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Alright? So, even though it is seeming describing the beast separate from Satan, they all come together to form the beast system. Alright? It's the dragon behind it, the king, and the nation. The nation is described mainly based on the characteristics and the power of the king. Alright, the strength of the king. Alright? But it all comes together to form the beast system, because the backing behind it is Lucifer. Alright? The nation and the great king that is behind the nation. Alright? Who is able to make war with him? Alright? So this is describing the old Rome. Alright? No one was able to stand up against Rome. Alright? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. This is the giveaway that lets us know that this is not just referring to an individual. Alright? So that's why I do these series in parts. That's why I would have done a video before, alright, that I'm not getting the opportunity to promote because of the fact that it's based on the beast system. So it cannot reach the amount of people that I wanted to reach. This is the giveaway that lets us know that this is not just referring to an individual, because there's no one man that is going to live for. Alright, so this 42 months is not referring to a literal 3.5 years. Alright? You have to be able to calculate and decode this using the formula that is given in Ezekiel 4:6 and Numbers 14:34 and Genesis 29. Alright, where weeks represents, weeks represents years and the days represents years. Alright, so when you work this out, you get 1,260 days, and that 1,260 days really represents 1,260 years. Alright, so this is referring to Lucifer, who's behind this. It's really him that allows the power to continue. So when a king goes, the corruption remains. Another king goes, the corruption remains. They are made unalive, no longer alive on the earth. The corruption continues. The corruption continues across kings because there's one behind it that is constantly there that you do not see. Alright? He is Lucifer. So he is the one whose the power was given unto him to continue 42 months. This represents the short period that has been given to Lucifer. Right? After he was bounded, he was released for a period. Right? So he was given a short period, and that period represents 42 months. Alright? And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. Alright? That is referring to Lucifer again. Alright? And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, Lucifer, and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Alright, so Lucifer is described as the prince of this world. It's to the point where he's even called God of this world. All of this is describing the great beast behind it all, and that's Lucifer. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. Alright? So you have right now people that are sold out to satanic systems. Alright? You literally have people now that worship Satan. Alright? We can call out certain groups. Alright? That certain systems, secret systems, all of this are linked to one man, one beast that is behind it all, and that beast is called the dragon. Is the main beast behind it all. Right? And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. So he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Alright? He that killeth with the sword must be made unalive with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the nations. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And so if you notice, one beast comes up out of the sea. But this beast now comes up out of the earth. Alright? So two different beasts, different traits. All right. So one rise up out of the sea, out of the multitude of the people. All right. And there's this one now that is rising up out of the earth. And he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. All right. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him. So when people read this, they're thinking individuals. But it is two systems that are linked to the same nation. The first one represented a political system that is linked to the same nation with much power. All right? The second system is linked to the same nation but with different traits. All right? So, and he exercised all the power of the first beast before him. So he's exercising the same power because the same dragon is behind him. All right? The same dragon is the one that is behind this power. Right, and caused the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. All right, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. All right, the only one who would be able to cause that sort of deception based on certain power that is given to him is Lucifer. So they are only able to do these things because of Lucifer, who is the real beast that is behind them. Right, and deceived them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. All right, woe unto those persons who are on the earth during this time, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast. All right, so this is nothing new. All right, Caesar from the Roman Catholic days, there are images, there are statues that were made of these kings. All right, and we go back, as we say, we go back to Babylon. All right, there was the desire for worship of false images. All right, so which had the power, which had the wound by a sword and did live. All right, so this is a transition from one system to another system that is tied to the same nation. All right, that's what I wanted you to see right there. So after Rome's political fall, the spiritual Roman papacy rose. So, the blasphemies of the papal system. What is the papal system? The papal system is the system, a constitutional type of system that runs currently the Catholic Church. All right? That system is what makes up the constitution for the Roman Catholic Church. All right? It's a group of leaders that comes together. They make the rules for the Catholic Church. All right? So it involve leaders that are right up there. Those leaders sit in Vatican City. And we know a famous one. It's the Pope. All right? But the Pope is just one man, as that is part of a system. All right? So it's not the Pope, all right, that is the issue. It is the system that is behind the Pope that is the issue. So it is not the Pope. All right? So we keep on thinking individuals, but take your mind off individuals. When you hear beasts, and when you hear woman, mystery woman, you are thinking of systems of control. All right? Constitutions of control. All right, so this system is called the papal system. This system is the system that represents the Jezebel system. This is the system that bears the characteristic traits of the Jezebel. This is the system that seems now to be of God, but twists the things of God. So it causes the worship of images. All right, images that are put up in the temple. All right, images of Mary, that are put up in the temple. All right, all these images that are put up in the temple. All right. So this system, when it rose up, would at the time there would have been war between the Jews, and there was the implementation of different religious practices. All right, the term Christianity would have also come about under this system. All right, it was during this time that it would have come about, and under this Christianity, the Catholic Church, currently the Catholic Church hosts most of the Christians in the world. All right, so we have sincere, innocent people that are part of the system. All right, so what are the issues with the system? All right, so I'm telling you that it matches the characteristic traits. All right, same characteristic traits of Jezebel: worship of idols, worship of Baal. All right, we would have seen the old Rome that would have crucified martyrs, just like Jezebel. All right. So this system does these things and has these things as part of it. Let me play this clip. And it's not even a clip, but if you look at the title here, 27th March, all right, it says the Holy Father, Pope Peter III, during the Pontifical Mass. All right, the Holy Father, Pope. So this is how he's recognized. I would have watched some clip in the past where he's called Holy Father. All right. So that right there represents the head of, in the papal system, the Pope. And we see all the glamour, we see all the decorations, we see all of those things. All right? And we saw the title, the Holy Father. The Holy Father. Now, Jesus Christ says this in Matthew 23:9. And call no man your father upon the earth. What is Jesus Christ talking about? Religiously. You don't call a man in a religious system that is supposed to be based on God. You call him Father. Because Jesus Christ tells us, for one is your Father, which is in heaven. If you go to the book of Revelation, it says, thou alone is holy. So even though we are called to be perfect like God or holy like God, ultimately, only God was truly holy. Or is truly holy. Alright? No, did not have a body. He's a spirit until he made one for himself. Alright? So Jesus says, for one is your Father. So we already see a problem. Because how can you be a part of a church that refers to a man as the Holy Father. Only God is supposed to be called Holy Father. So therefore, this is what it represents. This papal system, referring to the Pope as this, blasphemously takes God's sacred title. The Son of God tells us that only the Father, only God alone, there's only one Father. One Father that worketh in all and through all. So another issue is that claiming to sit infallibly in Peter's seat. What does this mean? Alright? The Pope claims infallibility when speaking on doctrine. So he sees himself as being perfect. Alright? But that's a power that no man should have. Alright? So Paul would have encountered characteristics like this in his time. 2 Thessalonians 2:3-4. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is a God. Right? That is what we are seeing happening in front of our face. Holy Father is a name that is only supposed to be for God. So, the reign of this for the 42 months has not just begun, as I said. Over 1,000 years now since it has begun. Alright? It began when Lucifer would have been released. Alright? The son of perdition here is referring to Lucifer. He's the one behind it all, who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is a God. Alright? Romans 3:23. So no one can claim infallibility. No one is infallible. No one is perfect. No man except Christ. Alright? And the Father. For all have sinned, especially on earth, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Alright? Oh, there's not a man that has come on earth that has not sinned. Alright? So he sits spiritually in the temple of God, exalting himself. Alright? This here fulfills that system. So claiming to be vicar of Christ, vicarius filii Dei. So the Pope's title, vicar of Christ, Latin vicarius filii Dei, means substitute for the Son of God. The Bible says, in Matthew 28:20, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you, and lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen. So, we have a Jesus Christ that cannot be substituted. He does not need a substitute because he operates through us now as the Holy Ghost. So he does not need anyone to substitute for him because or speaks for him, because he speaks through his servants, gives his own dreams and visions and revelations. No. Right? He is the one that is head of man in the church, and he's the one that owns the church and is head of the church. The church is his bride. Right? God that is over him. Christ is the head of man. Alright? promised that he would come to us. All right? Christ is here as the Holy Ghost. So he cannot be replaced by no one. Another thing that has happened is the fulfillment of this. Daniel 7:25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. What did they do? It was this system that changed the Sabbath from Saturday to Sunday. All right? So why we say change? Officially, they want you to recognize the Sunday as the Sabbath day, but that's not necessary. The Sabbath day will always be the Sabbath day. And that's the 7th day of the week. It's always the Sabbath day. The apostles didn't try to change the 7th day. What they did was to maintain the 7th day with the Sunday worship that they did. They didn't try to change it. So Paul, if you go to Acts 17, Acts 18, he still went into the temple on the Sabbath day, and they reasoned on the scriptures sitting down in a restful position. He didn't try to change it. But on a Sunday, they came together to eat the bread of the supper and drink the blood of the supper. But what does that really represent? It represents the Lord's Day. Alright? It represents the day of Pentecost. Sundays mainly represents the day of Pentecost, when you are expected to feast on Jesus Christ spiritually. Alright? So there's no need to try to change the days. You just need to know what each day represents. Alright? We approach each day different. Right? You rest, relax on the Sabbath day, meditating upon the scripture. So when they would come into the temple, they would sit down while they meditated upon the scriptures. And the apostles continued this. But on a Sunday, they would stand up now and glorify the name of the Lord and worship the name of the Lord. They maintained both days. But they seek to change it. So they adjusted the second commandment that speaks against images. They take out that part altogether, because they want to facilitate images in the church, like the images of Mary. So they adjusted it in a book that they use in the church. And what they did in order to maintain the 10 commandments was to divide the 10 commandments into 2 parts to maintain the 10. So they remove a part of the second commandment, and then what they do, so they remove the second commandment. So that's not a part. They remove the second commandment that speaks out against images. Alright? And then divide the 10 commandments into 2 to make it back to 10. So the Catholic Church, unfortunately there are innocent people here, openly boasts about changing the day of worship. So it's no secret. They let you know that they did it. It's no secret. So these are examples of blasphemous titles of the Pope. Holy Father. Alright? A title belonging only to God. Alright? John 17:11. John 17:11. And now am I no more in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to thee. Holy Father, keep through thine own name those whom thou hast given me, that they may be one as we are. Alright? So this is Jesus Christ referring to God as Holy Father. And he says that there's only one Father. So, how can we have a man on earth in a religious system being referred to as Holy Father? Vicar of Christ, substitute for the Son of God. Supreme Pontiff is a pagan Roman title adopted by the popes. Head of the universal church. Only Christ is the head of the church. Alright? So the Pope thinks that he's head of the church. That means he really sees himself as a substitute of Christ. Colossians 1:18. And he is head of the body, the church. Who's that referring to? Christ. So this is why we tell you that he blasphemes to think that he can substitute this. Jesus Christ says, upon this rock I'm going to build my church. The Father is telling that he's going to build the church upon Christ. Alright? Upon God himself. Alright? And he is the head of the body, the church, who is the beginning, the firstborn from dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. Alright? So Christ is the head of the body, the church. Alright? So you cannot therefore be on earth and consider yourself as the head of the church. Alright? So we see where we're going. Summary of the papal blasphemies. Papal change. Chill claim called Holy Father. Goes against Matthew 23:9. Spiritual violation. Substitute for Christ, the Vicar of Christ. Matthew 28:20. 2 Thessalonians 2:4. Alright, Matthew 28:20. So Matthew 28, Jesus sends out his disciples and the apostles, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of the world. Amen. Alright? Cannot replace Jesus Christ. 2 Thessalonians 2:4. Alright, not going to spell that. We find that this truth can be a very tricky topic when you come on this topic. A tricky topic in this time. This video might even get taken down. Alright? So who opposeth and exalted himself above all that is called God, or that he is worshipped, so that he as God seated in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Alright? Sits infallible in Peter's seat. Alright? Change Sabbath to Sunday. Alright? Remove the second commandment. Let us read Exodus 20:4-5. What they removed. Exodus 20. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven images, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Right? Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me. They adjusted this. Take out the part about graven images. Right? And then split the 10th commandment. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. They turn this into two parts. Alright? They turn this into two parts to make it back to 10. So, blasphemous titles and crowns. So, you would have seen the crown that is on this man's head a while ago in that video that I just played. Revelation 13, 5 to 6. Revelation 13, 5 to 6. And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast, who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. So this is how we know that it is Lucifer. That is the one that is behind it all. He's the one that causes the maintenance of it. Changing from presidents to presidents, changing from popes to popes. He's the one that is behind it all. So, Holy Father, and all those titles that he bears, alright, are the mouth that bears the blasphemous stuff. Alright, Holy Father, seeing himself as a substitute of Christ. Alright, changing the very laws and commandments of God. Alright, that's what happens. So, I would have mentioned the 2B system of Revelation 13. So let's conclude. So Revelation 13, 1 to 2. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. So first beast, as I said, would have represented the Roman system, the political system in the time of Jesus Christ. Alright? So, the leader was not a religious man. Alright? As you would have heard, King Agrippa would have said, you almost made me into a Christian. So King Agrippa was not no Christian. So they were not yet political as yet. Alright? They were fighting against religion. They eventually started fighting against the Jews. Alright? So Rome's political religious system empowered by Satan, the dragon. So they come in and it seems as if they are of God. Alright? But the things they do does not line up with God. Alright? It's that type of system. Serpent type of system. Serpent, that is the spirit that is in the Jezebel. And that's what we call it, said the spirit of Jezebel, because the backing behind it is the dragon. Alright? The split tongue. Part truth and part lie. Alright? They have some of the commandments intact, but they deliberately go in it and change one of the commandments. Literally change it. And then say we change it. They change the seventh day to Sunday, and officially say Sunday is the seventh day. Sunday cannot be the seventh day. Alright? The calendar is not that far off from the Enoch calendar, so it remains as Saturday and Sunday as is. Those are right. Alright? You cannot go in and take out what suits you. So because the image, you want to have image, maintain image for worship, you take that out of the Bible. Who gives you that right? Alright, so this system rose up. Alright, so the second system represents the Roman papacy merging with world politics. Alright, that's what the second system is. Alright, Revelation 13:11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Alright? The second beast is a new type of power appearing like a lamb, but speaking like a dragon. Alright? So, and he had 2 horns like a lamb. Alright? Had horns like a lamb, seemingly innocent. Seemingly innocent, but there's no innocence there. Right? A new power appearing like a lamb, but speaking like a dragon. Alright? So, it is a mixture now. So the first system was just the political system. Alright? But the system that we have now is a system that seems to be able to friend all the kings and presidents of the world. For some reason, this system, this papal system, this Catholic Church is where most presidents and kings used to represent them religiously. Alright? It is the Pope that is oftentimes used to represent them. And they oftentimes go to have meetings with the Pope. Very often. So, as you know, he's the head of a nation. Right? So, I said to you, I could not pinpoint when the transition happened from Rome to the United States. Because usually it is this nation fighting this nation, and when they fight this nation, they take over power. Alright? So, how are they now in unity? So, most of it so happens that even though the Catholic main headquarters is in the Vatican City of Rome, it so happens that most of the Catholics are in the United States. So even though the headquarters is over there in Rome, most of the Catholics that resides in the world are in the United States. Alright? The United States allows everything. Everything. But Vatican has no problem with Israel. Alright? They're not necessary for warring against Russia, can stand corrected on that. I haven't gone deeply into that part of the study. Alright? Close ties with the US. Alright? So they are able to speak in United Nations, influence laws and influence the constitution laws. Alright? Much power as a religious nation. But it's not that they're getting anybody closer to God. Right? So they refer to him as Holy Father. So a group of men come around you who refers to you as Holy Father. Right? That makes him even greater than the presidents when they refer to him as Holy Father. So he's truly their leader. When they refer to him as Holy Father, he's truly their leader. So, promotes religious freedom outwardly. Alright? So the horns, like a lamb. Alright? But the horns definitely represents the crowns. Speaks like a dragon. Supports deception. And the Vatican spiritually and politically. So, Mystery Babylon and the modern USA. Revelation 17:18. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. And that woman which thou sawest is that great city. Like this prophecy is so perfect. Vatican City. The great city. That is it. Vatican City is that religious city, the papal system, that most kings of the earth, the president of the earth intertwines with, or they like to associate themselves with the Catholic Church and say, oh, I'm a Catholic. All right, most of them associate themselves with being Christians. When you ask them what type of church you are part of, they are Catholics. But how are you a part of a church where you call the head of it Holy Father? So it means that he's reigning over them as king of the earth. So therefore, the Vatican is the mystery Babylon. It is the transition from the old Rome to the new type of Rome. This type of Rome is headed by a church where they refer to this man as Holy Father. All right? This church is the head of the political system in Rome. And it mixes with all other nations under the name of religion. All right? And it does not go against the things that these nations seems to stand up for. It seems to be friend with all of these presidents and these kings. All right? So there you have it on this this line, revealing that it is within Rome. All right? That points to, this is what points to. All right? The spiritual signs of it being the mystery Babylon. The world power now that intertwines with it, that we see the most, is the USA politically supports and intertwines with the Vatican. This is the ultimate beast. So it is not just one nation. It's a combination of a religious system that combines with kings, which are presidents of this earth. That is the ultimate beast system. So Satan is controlling the religion from that point and influencing the kings of the earth. All right? That is the subtleness of it. And that is the mystery Babylon right there. So Revelation 18:2, Babylon the Great is fallen. It's fallen and it's become the habitation of devils and the hold of every false spirit. So mystery Babylon, corrupt religious system, it carries the characteristic traits of Jezebel, will fall completely under God's judgment. Revelation 18:14, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that he receive not her plagues. This is what lets you know that there are still innocent people that are there that are just ignorant, that sits among them. Right? They do not even recognize the blasphemies because they are ignorant. When you sit and call a man Holy Father, you do not know that there is only supposed to be one Father of all, one God, one Holy Father. Alright? Whenever I'm fighting this battle too soon in this journey. Alright? So these people innocently sits unknowingly in captivity and under bondage. And it happens in other churches, in other areas. People sit under captivity and under bondage because what? They do not study the word for themselves. So they just run with what they hear and what they see. They don't take the time out to study the scriptures for themselves. Blind people, unfortunately, representing modern day slavery. These people are in bondage and captivity and don't even know that they are in captivity and bondage. And this is what I'm called to do, so I have to do it. I am here. I'm trying my best to set the people free that are blind from the bondages and captivity that they are under. Anything that contradicts the truth, that points to putting the people under unnecessary bondage and captivity, and they do not see it, I'm here to show it up. Here to set the people free with knowledge, so that you can worship God in spirit and in truth, knowing that Jesus Christ says that my burden is light and my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Alright? So this video is aimed at this. We want the sincere people that don't know these things. Come out from among them. Alright? God calls his true saints to separate themselves spiritually and morally. And this is what happened in Revelation 2 as well. Go back to Revelation 2. Its characteristics. So so we see two Babylon. We see two Jezebel. We see a Jezebel from the Old Testament. That was the physical Jezebel. So we saw the Roman Empire in the time of Jesus Christ. That was the physical Roman Empire. That represents the Jezebel, the physical Jezebel. So the Roman Empire that you saw, it correlates back to the physical Jezebel. However, this one that is being referred to in Revelation 2 is pointing to the papal system. This one is pointing to the papal system. This represents the second beast. Alright? Notwithstanding, Revelation 2:20, I have a few things against thee, because thou sufferest that woman Jezebel, which calleth herself a prophetess, to teach and to seduce my servants to commit fornication, and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. This is the papal system, my people. The second Jezebel represents the second beast, right? The first one represents the old Roman, the physical, but this one now is referring to the spiritual one. So this one that we have now is a spiritual beast, a combination of religion and politics in one. Alright? And I gave her space to repent of her fornication, and she repented not. Behold, I will cast her into a bed, and them that commit adultery with her into great tribulation, except they repent of their deeds. So all the nations that mix up with this system, unless they run out of it and take themselves out of it, then judgment shall be their doomsday. Right? Jesus Christ says, I will make unalive her children with death. And all the churches shall know that I am he which searcheth the reins and hearts. They have to fall eventually. And I will give unto every one of you according to your works. Alright, that's why I tell you when I teach the beast system, corruption can only continue for a time, but it has to fall and it brings rest, because the true doctrine of God has to prevail eventually. So they can just be corrupt for a time, right? Until God steps in and says, enough is enough. It's time for my gospel to prevail. It's time to rescue my people. So you don't have to worry about corruption, because corruption always follows, rest always comes after corruption. Corruption can never prevail against God. This represents those that are sitting ignorantly there and do not know that they are being misled, being led astray. Right? But unto you I say, and that's one of the problems, right? The earth. People run on glamour a lot. People run on physical elements a lot on earth. It seems like this glamorous system, rich system that everybody runs to, and a lot of people, it draws a lot of people. Alright? People like to run on physical elements, right, instead of focusing on the spirit. Alright? But they're innocently there, running down the glamour. But unto you I say, and unto the rest in Thyatira, as many as have not this doctrine. Which doctrine is he referring to? The doctrine of the Jezebel. Right? You don't live by it. Right? And you don't know the depths of Satan. Right? That it is Lucifer that is the one that is behind the system. You don't know how deep he goes. So he gets into this church and he influences. Right? Causing the people to focus on physical things and physical wisdom. You bow down and worship me. Right? That's why it is okay. They think that it is okay for them to do certain things. So we see the sexual immoralities that normally stands out within this system. Right? We hear about the buggery and the homosexuality and all of those things that happens in this system. All of those things pointing back to one system. Alright? Now on earth that has been reigning for a while, thousands of years. All right? So you are wondering if the system is already here. The system is already here. The only part of the system that is yet. So that's why we have all the 66666. If we divide the 40 by the 6, you see the 666, the recurring, the 14 sixes. So that's how long the corruption goes on for before it comes to an end. So for it's years that it has been going on for. All right, so the beast system has been here from the time of Babylon. From the old physical Babylon, it was here, transitioning through the different kingdoms. But it has been there. All right? Lucifer would have not yet been cast out on the earth. So when Rome would have taken over from Greece, Lucifer would not have been cast out as yet. Lucifer would have been cast out after the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. So the Rome that we saw while Jesus Christ was on earth now carries a different characteristics after Jesus Christ. Because it's when Lucifer comes on earth after the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, now you see a different system come to the fore. Alright? That system's come to the fore because what now? There's someone new that has come to earth. The deceiver came to earth. No. So now we see a Rome after Jesus Christ with a different nature. So when you see Pilate is saying, oh, I don't want to crucify Jesus Christ, and the blood is on your hands, the Jews. Purpose had to be fulfilled anyway. We see the system that comes after, that appears with a different nature. Because now the dragon is the backing. Lucifer now has come down. And now he comes down with cunningness. Lucifer is cunning. Right? That's why I love the Lord, who shows me how he bows to me. And then he bows to me and he listens to my command. That great Lucifer, right, has to bow to God when he sees God inside of you. Alright? People don't know the depths of Lucifer, how he influences the churches. Right? So I will put upon you none other burden. So these people are sitting there, but they are not practicing these things. Because they'll just pick up that morally it is wrong. Right? But you still sit there. You hear him being called Holy Father, you still sit there. You know that something wrong with that. So why you stay in it? Right? You see how they mix up with certain things of the world and you still stay in it. Alright? So we get to the point, right, where people like me, they might eventually come after. Alright? So, come out of her, my people, that he be not partakers of her sins, and that he receive not of her plagues. Alright? So, Mystery Babylon is not just one city or nation. It is headed by a blasphemous political religious system that gets all the nations to stand with it. So that's why we see the 7 heads, because it gets the kings from all the continents to mix with it. That's why we see the heads. Alright? We see the heads, and it has having 7 heads. Coincidentally, that's amount of continents. Alright? So, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and it had 2 horns like the lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So if you notice that this does not mention heads, because the 7 heads represents nations of the world. Alright? Look at the amount of nations, look at the amount of continents that we have. Alright? So the 2 horns, alright, representing kings that rise up. But all of these are just describing nation. The ultimate beast, the ultimate one behind it all, he's the one that was behind the first one, and he's the one that is behind the second one. It is him that continues all the way through. So when the men are passing away, it ensures that the system is maintained. He's the one that has the 1,260 years to reign before the end comes. That's him. Alright? So, Mystery Babylon is not just one city or nation. It is the papal system mixed with the heads of the world, the main continents of the world. So it's a religious system intertwined with the kings of the world. So that's why we see the woman. It represents the Jezebel that is sitting on the heads of these kings because she influences them. It is a spiritual system, a corrupt form of Christianity mixed with political power. It is a spiritual system, a corrupt form of Christianity mixed with political power. Continents mixed with the papal system. And the papal system is the head of the Catholic Church. Saints must remain pure, separate, and holy, awaiting Christ's righteous judgment. For true and righteous are his judgments, for he hath judged the great whore, which did corrupt the earth with her fornication. One religious community that is corrupting the nation with false religious teachings. It is them, my friend. If you are watching this channel for the first time or not, I recommend that you hit that subscribe button below and hit that bell so that you can be notified when we release these life-changing videos. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.